Hello, my name is Brian Smith and welcome to my office. My Darwin's medicine seminars are made for strategists in the life sciences industry, pharma, medtech, diagnostics and so on, which I've worked in, researched in and written about for over 40 years. My aim is to tell you something that is original and relevant. If I manage to do that, then please share this seminar with your colleagues and please click and subscribe. And if you want to know more about my research into our industry, then get in touch and we can have a virtual coffee. Today's seminar is one of 4 seminars in which I talk about the human factors that shape strategy execution and implementation. Today, I'm going to talk about organizational culture. And in the next 3 seminars in this series, I'm going to talk about my research into cross-functional alignment, individual commitment to strategy, and the behaviour patterns that influence strategy. Organisational culture is the way that we behave collectively within our company. How we behave is based on what we think is valuable and important. And what we think is valuable and important is based on our beliefs about what we think makes us successful in the world. There are 7 key facts that you need to know about organisational culture. 1. You can only see behaviours, not values or beliefs. 2. Your culture pervades the entire organisation. 3. Organisations only survive when their cultures fit with the market. 4. You can adapt your culture, but you can't transform it. 5. Markets change faster than cultures, which risks leaving them out of sync with each other. 6. Cultural change starts with beliefs, not with trying to change behaviour. 7. If culture and strategy ever conflict, then it's always culture that wins. Culture and strategy often clash, and there's good reason for this. Culture is an implicit mechanism for aligning the organisation to its environment. Strategy is an explicit mechanism for aligning the organisation to its environment. So, 2 different ways of doing the same thing. It's just like having 2 bosses. It's a recipe for failure. And when culture and strategy do conflict, culture always wins, strategy always loses. There's a reason for that. It's because culture is so pervasive and implicit. It influences every decision, but there's no culture department to argue with, and no culture plan to challenge, and no culture budget to cut. Fighting culture is like a fish fighting water. So how can we make culture help strategy and not hinder it? Aligning strategy and culture begins, like any therapy, with its diagnosis. The first diagnostic step is to ask yourself, what current behaviours might help or hinder our planned strategy? The second step is to work out what those behaviours reveal about what you think is important, that is, what they tell you about your values. The third, final stage of diagnosis is to figure out the beliefs that cause your company values and so your behaviours. In the longer article that goes into this with this seminar, I'll give a real-world example of how this diagnosis process works. But this process gives you 2 lists of existing, probably implicit beliefs. First, beliefs that might support and strengthen your strategy, and therefore that you might want to keep and amplify. Second, a list of beliefs that will, if you don't do anything about them, sink your strategy. For the purposes of this seminar, I'm going to concentrate on the latter, the ones that you want to change. So how do you change the beliefs that threaten, via their values and behaviours, to derail your strategy? Well, first you need to know that you can't change the underlying beliefs of an organisation by instruction or by storytelling or by threats. If you use those methods, behaviours do change when you're watching, but as soon as you're not watching, the old behaviour reverts back. Cultural beliefs can only be changed by symbols and rituals. Your company already has lots of symbols and ceremonies, things like awards, conferences, the big corner office, the car policy. All of these things communicate and reinforce its cultural beliefs. If you need to change your culture so that it helps rather than hinders your strategy, you need to harness its symbols and ceremonies. Again, in the longer supporting article, I give real-world examples. But in practice, Changing culture so that it helps rather than hinders strategy execution requires a persistent pattern of symbolism, often executed coherently over months and years. And because of this, cultural change almost always requires the commitment of senior leadership. So, if you're not senior leadership, what's an ordinary member of the team to do? If you're not a senior leader, then I suggest you forward this seminar on to someone who is. But at the same time, prepare yourself a little elevator pitch for when you have a few minutes with the boss. In the supporting article, I provide a template for a simple, effective elevator pitch. So let me close with what you need to remember about culture and strategy. You can't and shouldn't ignore the connection between the two because they're both trying to do the same thing, so they always interact and sometimes clash. In practice, this means you have a simple choice. Either you anticipate and manage that interaction, or you trust to luck. And as you probably know, trusting to luck is really a good move. Thanks for joining my seminar. If you found this interesting, then please share with your colleagues. If you'd like to read the supporting article about aligning strategy and culture, then please send me an email. If you'd like to browse the 300 or so articles, papers and books I've written about our industry, then take a look at my website and the links below. And if you'd like to talk about how my research can help you improve your competitive capabilities, then send me an email and we can set up a virtual coffee. I'd love to hear from you.